The greatest social revolution of humans is when hunters and gatherers became farmers. A short history of agriculture in the world. This is video 1 of 4. This video covers the time of hunters and gatherers and through the prehistoric period. Helping me today is Jennifer Lamb. Jennifer has a home and office cleaning business in Northwest Indiana, and Jennifer also writes a blog at theholisticgen.com. When you have finished all 4 lesson videos, you will be able to list the major historic periods in agricultural development, describe how domestication occurred, identify the approximate centers of origin of agriculture, explain the difference between pastoralism and pastoral farming, explain when and why trading began between areas, describe manorialism, describe colonial agriculture, identify important advancements in science and technology of the different periods.
Today's agriculture depends on the sciences of engineering, technology, biology, physics, chemistry, genetics, mechanization, and how to do scientific research.
The history of agriculture is the history of civilization. It is a record of the domestication of plants and animals, inventions, where civilizations began, world trade, and the social activities of humans. When did agriculture begin? Let us take a look at our definition of agriculture before we try to answer that question. Our definition reads, agriculture is the industry engaged in the production of plants and animals for food, feed, and fiber, the provision of agricultural supplies and services, and the processing, marketing, and distribution of agricultural products. Our definition would suggest we need to determine when humans first became involved with the domestication and production of plants and animals.
Before agriculture began, everyone used his time hunting and gathering food. These people are known as hunters and gatherers. This was a full-time job and little time could be spent doing anything else. People would spend some time in an area until the food supply ran out. Then they would move to a new area and search for food.
There are 4 major historic periods in agricultural development. The prehistoric period, about 10,000 BC till about 2500 BC, depending on the region. The Roman period, about 2500 BC till about 500 AD, depending on the region. The feudal period, about 500 AD to 1500 AD, and the scientific period, about 1500 AD to the present day.
The prehistoric period of the region begins with the domestication of plants and animals. The wild wheat illustrated to the left shows what wheat looked like when it was growing wild. Domestication gave us einkorn and emmer wheat. The bread wheat is the most popular genus of the wheat grown today.
About 10,000 BC, some people learned that they could grow their own food and settle in one place. They began to search for plant seed and learn to grow crops. Transition from hunters and gatherers to agriculture began with the domestication of plants and animals. Domestication is the mutual relationship between plants or animals with the humans who have influence on their care and reproduction. The dates of domesticated plants and animals vary with the region. In wild populations, there's a great deal of genetic diversity. Humans selected and grew plants for medicine, clothing, and food, and for religious ceremonial reasons. Humans learned to select and reproduce variations of the desired species that had the most desirable characteristics. Farmers noted which wild plants were edible and useful and learned to save the seed and replant it.
There are 7 general regions of the world where agriculture began. We will look at each region individually.
The map of the world shows the approximate centers of the origin of agriculture and its spread in prehistory. On this map, I placed a red rectangle around the Fertile Crescent. Most experts agree this is where agriculture and civilization began about 10,000 BC. That would be about 12,000 years ago.
The next major center began about 7000 BC in the Yangtze and Yellow River Basin. The New Guinea Highlands also began about 7000 BC. Central Mexico began about 3000 to 2000 BC. Northern South America also began about 3000 to 2000 BC. Sub-Saharan Africa also began about 3000 to 2000 BC.
Finally, the eastern United States of America began about 2000 to 1000 BC. These are current estimates. As scientists discover new evidence, our understanding of history and their dates will be updated. Domestication of livestock led to pastoral farming or to pastoralism. Pastoralism is the branch of agriculture concerned with the nomadic raising of livestock. Sheep are considered the earliest domesticated food animal. The sheep herd would be moved to fresh range in search of edible plants and water. This would be in contrast with pastoral farming, in which non-nomadic farmers grew crops and improved pastures for their livestock. Pastoral comes from the term pastor, Latin for a shepherd.
Scientists have carried out carbon-14 testing of animal and plant remains and have dated the following finds. Domesticated sheep around 9000 BC in northern Iraq. Goats about 8000 BC in central Iran. Pigs about 8000 BC in Thailand and 7000 BC in Thessaly. Wheat and barley were domesticated in the Middle East about 7050 BC. Cattle about 5000 BC in northeastern Iran. Horses about 4350 BC in Ukraine. Llamas and alpacas were domesticated in the Andean regions of South America by about 2500 BC.
This period is also known as Neolithic. The Neolithic Age, or New Stone Age, was a period in the development of human technology, specifically with smooth stone tools. In the photo, we see an array of Neolithic artifacts, including bracelets, axe heads, chisels, and polishing tools. Neolithic stone artifacts are by definition polished, and, except for specialty items, not chipped. To summarize, with this video, we learned the prehistoric period was about 10,000 BC till about 2500 BC, depending on the region. There are 7 different regions in the world where hunters and gatherers transitioned to agriculture. Agriculture began at different times in different parts of the world. It began with the domestication of plants and animals. Domestication of plants and animals occurred at different times. Pastoralism is concerned with nomadic raising of animals. Pastoral farming is non-nomadic growing of plants and livestock. This period is also known as Neolithic, the Neolithic Age or New Stone Age.
Let's try some quiz questions. True or false? Pastoralism is a branch of farming in which non-nomadic farmers grow crops and improve pastures for their livestock.
The correct answer was false. Remember, pastoralism is the branch of agriculture concerned with the nomadic raising of livestock. Pastoral farming is non-nomadic farmer growing crops and improving pastures for their livestock.
True or false? Sheep are considered the first food animal domesticated.
The correct answer is true. Sheep were first domesticated about 9000 BC in northern Iraq. Dogs were domesticated before this time, but they were not considered food animals.
True or false? Most of the tools of the prehistoric period were made of stone.
The correct answer is true. The prehistoric period is also known as the Neolithic Age or New Stone Age. During the latter part of this period, metal tools were starting to be made with copper, tin, bronze, and iron, but most of the tools were still made of stone.
For the lesson plan with worksheets, lab exercises, and answer keys, go to www.spanbrookSchool.com. Thanks for listening.